ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Drew Perkins, 1133 Granada, capital Wyoming, 5601. To some degree, I've read this with some interest, and I came down in part, Mr. Chairman, because I saw your wonderful interview on television here a week or so ago, and this whole thing was a little bit curious to me, Mr. Chairman. When I was on the county commission, and you made, Mr. Chairman, made a declaration that you thought that all these public roadways are out there were indeed were qualified as county roads because they're dedicated to the public. And the business mother of the commission, that was. I understand that your county attorney had kind of made that indication to you. I can tell you that back when we were doing this a number of years ago, when we looked at the same thing, our county attorney looked at us and we had the same discussion, and we came to a different conclusion. And ultimately, in the rules governing county support for public roadways, you see A, B, and C, and that was kind of always the designation that we had operated under. I recognize I don't get a vote on the commission anymore, but the private road, public road, and county road was the distinction that we had made that you see in your own rules there, and that was the distinction to be a county road. You had to go through the process of being declared a county road and accepted it, just because a developer decides to have a subdivision and create public assets, which they're required to do under the subdivision and zoning rules, doesn't mean that the county has responsibility to maintain that road. Again, when I see that the county roads are in a little bit worse condition when we were there, I don't know that I did a lot when as a commissioner to make it any better. When those dollars are so precious and the needs are so great, it's a little bit curious that you take away, you divert from county roads out to other, basically be either private or public roads that are dedicated to public but are not county roads, to use those very precious funds to service those more private interests. And so with that, it's a little bit of a question I think a lot of us have of why we would do that at this point when we're not county roads. It's a tough deal. I know how tough it is and how tough it is to make those things, but this would seem to exacerbate the problem as opposed to help us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Perkins?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Perkins, when you and I had spoke briefly, you mentioned something about East Henry Road and how the existing rules had been used. Can you expand on that?
Well, I seem to be that I remember on East Henry Road, and maybe Commissioner Winger, thank you, sir.
It's a compliment.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon.
I start getting old in minds. Anyway, Commissioner Keating, I think you may remember that, because I think maybe you were there. We had tried to do some grading out on the East Henry Road and had done some work out there. And we had taken gravel from, they were breaking up the refinery down here. We crushed the gravel and took it out there and spread it out, and then we did. Well, it turned out the guys who crushed the gravel didn't run the magnets with rods and that stuff. And we had all kinds of flat tires, and it was a mess. And so we, as people would come in, we had actually, in some cases, we actually repaired the tires because we were the ones that put the metal rods in the road and some things like that. In doing that, my recollection of the East Henry Road, isn't that county road something or other?
Well, wasn't it, Senator, wasn't mostly Gary Doan?
Gary Doan, I'm sorry, you're right, it wasn't East Henry, it was Gary Doan. It was Gary Doan Road out there up there in off Cold Creek and down that way. And it's tough. I mean, when people move into the county, they are upset when they can't drive their BMW 50 miles an hour down on gravel dirt roads, and they get upset when they get some dings or they have some problems. But ultimately, it's a tough way to do it. I know that when we were with Mr. Hagan, we were trying to, at some point, designate some stretch of road to work on every year, if it was just a mile or two. We're just trying to get something done because they just continue to deteriorate. Hopefully, you know, there should be some additional money with, between the farm to road, the farm to market program, and then the additional, county gets some portion of the additional 10-cent
Yes.
general tax. Some of those things, I mean, as you do that, it's a tough job. There's a lot more road than there is money, I know that, but trying to find some program to do that and trying to work on a regular basis in addition to maintain, you know, it's tough. And, you know, I remember how tough it was when we were there, so. I don't know if that's helps at all. Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
You know, there was some promise, of course, maybe know the wording exactly, but there was some promise in the 1 cent that some monies would be set aside, I think, for improving roads, I think, home improvement service districts.
Well, you know, and I think that's, you know, the reasons that people voted for the 1 cent and the reason people voted against the 1 cent, I think are varied. But I think the expectation is that the 1 cent gets used for, you know, doesn't get used for operations, gets used for, you know, either purchases of equipment. It doesn't get absorbed into operations. And I know that the city of Casper County is long held and been pretty true to that purpose. And so a lot of people, you know, anticipate, and certainly the city of Casper uses their 1 cent, a lot of that for roads and sewer construction projects like that. So, you know, I think that there is an expectation among the public that the 1 cent does get used for some of that, you know, for roadways and making sure that we've got the public works in the kind of shape that they can be used.
Well, I guess maybe I need to make my question more specific. But I guess the only one drawing me towards support of this was that promise more specifically for the 1 cent was for home improvement service district.
Well, you know, I think that might be one. I mean, the issue that comes to that is that the home improvement districts have the ability to levy some upon themselves, and in some cases, though, those are essentially the same as taxes to tax themselves. There certainly is people. It's always nice to be able to help people that are willing to help themselves, and certainly when you match that, you can get a double bang for your buck. At the same time, you know, the Oshes you drive right through the county, they're just in such rugged shape in so many places. The one we were talking, I think I remember now, Commissioner Slaughter, I think what it was that we had that there was an emergency situation out on, was it East Henry Road where the irrigation, there was a flood and the irrigation ditch had ruptured and it washed out the road, and we went out there and we cooperated with the irrigation district or road improvement and service district, and we bought materials, and I think they did the work so that we could put in and restore the irrigation as a part of that, because there were some county issues with respect to maybe why that had occurred. And so we cooperated, and I think that we bought piping and some other materials, gravels and things like that, and the district did some work, but it was to repair what had been, I think, a washout, a flood, a cloudburst of some sort, and I think the grading in our road to find in the ditch, and then the ditch burst and wiped out things on it. So I remember. That's a long time. Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for